Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to welcome Victoria Hyman here with me today for Recruiter on Call with Jobs. She goes by Vic, so welcome. Happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Lynn.
Awesome. So, Vic and I are pretty close in proximity to one another. We're both in the suburbs of Greater Philadelphia. So, if you happen to be from the area, she lives in Westchester and works in King of Prussia and Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yes.
I live in Chesterbrook, which is just outside of the Valley Forge Park, and my office is in Paoli. So, yeah, we
Neighbors.
are, yeah, we are definitely neighbors. So we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to ask her questions so that you can learn about how to work with a recruiter. And then she's going to share some jobs that she has. We will invite people to come up to the stage at the end. I'm going to first start out with my introduction, and then I will ask Vic to do her introduction. So I wear two basic hats. Hat number one is I write resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and my focus is on keywords. And yes, I use AI, but not to write a whole resume. That would be a no-no for me. But we can absolutely use AI to help with the resume. The other hat that I wear is I am the executive director of a 501c3 nonprofit. We are a volunteer run organization. So what does that mean? No budgets. We do an awful lot. We have a very big impact for a very small price. Just so you know, next month, April, we will be celebrating 16 years, not as a nonprofit, but as an organization that, I took over from somebody's meetup. And we have had over 6,500 events. We have had over 8,500 members on Meetup alone, not including our website. And believe it or not, we've had over 48,000 RSVPs on the Meetup. So that doesn't even include all these LinkedIn lives. So we've made a pretty big impact over the year. So if you go to greatcareers.org and you go to the events page, you will see that we run 18 to 25 events a month. Some of them are on Zoom. Monday will be on the Clubhouse app. And, here we are on a LinkedIn live stream that also goes out to the Great Careers PHL YouTube channel. So aside from that, I'm also involved in a wonderful community called the Thought Leadership Branding Club, which also co-promotes this event. So believe it or not, I just can't even believe how time has flown, but I've been in that club for over 5 years. So 5 years and 2 months, I guess. So it's a great place. I have amazing colleagues that run, workshops and events and live streams and clubhouses and all that. So if you go to thoughtleadershipbranding.club and you go to the events page there, then you can learn about and see what's coming up. So now it's time for Vic to introduce herself. So I already said where you're from, but how long have you been a recruiter? And
Oh
then tell us
gosh.
about your company and what you specialize in.
Yeah. So I started recruiting. It was literally a college job, so it's probably about 30 years now.
Wow.
I started when I was just in college, something to do, an office job turned into something I absolutely loved and adored. And here we are, 3 decades later. The company that I'm working for currently is called Remington and Vernick Engineers. We are a 120-year-old, primarily civil engineering firm. We do a lot of strong community projects. So we are headquartered in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, with 15 offices nationally, mostly centered in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And we do a lot of civil engineering, mechanical, electrical engineering community projects. So this could be bridges and tunnels and toll roads and your kids' schools, neighborhood racquetball courts, pickleball courts, heavy highway. Think of your big I-95s and your NJDOT and your Pennsylvania Department of Transportation projects. I joined Remington and Vernick just about a year ago. My background in recruiting is everything from banking to manufacturing to engineering to biotech and pharma. And I have a real passion for matching people with jobs.
Awesome. Just to comment on a couple people in the chat, I think I wasn't paying attention at the beginning part of the chat, so I apologize if you already put a comment in and I missed it. But I want to give a shout out to Christy Klein from Texas. She's a fellow member of the Thought Leadership Branding Club. She has spoken for us before. She does resumes and LinkedIn profiles, so an esteemed colleague. And then I saw Carrie Bryson, who spoke for us yesterday, and she gave a shout out to another Carrie. So Carrie Bryson also does resumes and LinkedIn profiles. She did an amazing presentation yesterday, so thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back. And the other Carrie, Carrie Kastroba, has been the nonprofit's bookkeeper since 2019. So she's been a consistent, wonderful volunteer for us. And then I see here's Johnny. So Johnny Shaw is also local. He's in Newtown Square. He does web development and graphic design. And I just asked him if he could give me some tips on making my LinkedIn banner because I've been in analysis paralysis and I do it for other people, but you know how it's hard to do it for yourself, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So very
Yeah.
talented guy. So, if you need website or graphic art stuff, hey, contact Johnny because here's Johnny. All right. So there's those commercials. Now let's talk about what's going on in the industry now. It's a pretty crazy job market. So, what are the trends or changes in the hiring landscape? What's happening out there from your perspective?
So, I think that recruiters and candidates, we typically can describe the market as being employer driven or candidate driven, right? So I feel like right now, the trend is we're in kind of a low fire, low hire market, right? So there's not a ton of hiring going on. There's not a ton of companies parting ways. There are more applicants than roles that are open. So
Mhm.
that part is a bit of a mismatch and a struggle. I would categorize it as an employer's market. Now, what does that mean for candidates? Well, it means it's time to skill up and be very specific in what you're applying for. I think in other markets, maybe during our great resignation time or kind of COVID, post-COVID time, you could have some broader skills that might end up fitting into one way or another. I think that we're definitely in more of a skill up, specific hiring market right now. That's kind of how I would describe it, Lynn.
Yeah, from what I've read, I mean, probably because you see a lot of my posts. I'm a writer, and I've written probably about 350 articles or so over the past 7 years. Um, so now I'm writing about 3 articles a week. So I've got, my LinkedIn newsletter, I've got Substack, and then I write for local Philadelphia platform called Vista.today, Delco.today, Bucksco.today, Monco.today, and Philadelphia.today. He has over 120,000 subscribers. Actually, that's probably last year's number. I have to check with him and see how many he has. But the Vista.today is Chester County. That's the only one that doesn't relate to the counties, that we have. So, it's writing and speaking is kind of how I get my word out. And when I've done research for some of the articles, I know I came across the World Economic Forum it said that there's 170 million jobs that are going to be created over the next decade. And it's more about skills-based hiring than degrees. And here I am working on my doctoral dissertation. No, let me correct that. I
Right.
should be working on my doctoral dissertation. I don't know if I'm going to finish it. So I took off my EDD candidate. I can't find the time. But yeah, skills are really important. So upskilling, reskilling, and um, you have to incorporate AI. You've got to upskill with AI, don't you think? No matter what you
Oh
do.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I think that could be everything from how to make work more efficient to how to be creative. So for recruiters, is it, using an AI tool to make sure that job descriptions are not swaying one gender to the other, right? And there are tools
Right.
online to do that, right? And I think it's, using Calendly, right, to open up for candidates and those that you
Hmm.
want to talk to find time on your calendar as opposed to doing things kind of the old fashioned way, right? So I think earlier
Hmm.
at the top of the call with not dumping everything into AI and backing up and saying, okay, machine, do it for me. It's that cooperation and collaboration with it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's using AI as your coworker, but it
Right.
always needs human oversight.
The
Hey,
lead.
I see Felipe Confino in the audience. Hey, Felipe, how you doing? And Gregory Liverpool, Jay Trevetti. So great to have you back here. I know these are some of our regular people that come. So welcome, welcome. Let's talk about resumes and let's talk about that AI stuff. Can you tell as a recruiter when you have resumes submitted? Can you tell who's been using AI or not?
Yeah, I think it depends on like you said, how much of that is derived from an AI tool. So, for technology, for engineering, which is a lot of, I mean, we are an engineering firm. We have had managers look at CVs or resumes and call out and said, this feels like a bot wrote it. This feels. So I think that, yes, I think the way you would look at a Facebook chat and think something doesn't sound right here. Is this a robot talking to me? Or you look at something and you're thinking of buying a product and every review has nothing but positive, glowing things to say. So I think the answer to that is yes. I think that when it comes to resumes, it's important for candidates to understand hiring managers and recruiters spend less than 10 seconds looking at a resume. I'm not making this up. I mean, literally, we are scanning quick, but we are often not the first person that sees your resume. The
Mm,
applicant tracking system tool looks at it first. Now that's not a human touch, but what that's doing for a lot of companies is it's parsing out. The best advice I could give when it comes to resume tips is think of segues. Managers are looking for segues. They want to look at a resume and know that you, the candidate, the job seeker, have similar skills to what they're looking for. We're at a point, most of us, where we're looking for jobs in careers where some of us may be newer in our career, others of us are more seasoned, but specifically for those of us who have experience, they're looking for the connectors. They want to know that you, the job seeker, have done something similar. And that's why it's so important to not just use an AI bot or some type of a robot to do a resume, because they're not going to be able to capture that personal touch. And then when you go into an interview, you need to be able to speak about what's on that paper, because that paper is kind of a roadmap for the discussion. I mean, what do you think, Lynne?
mhm.
You've seen so much of this. I mean,
Well, I do this for a living, right? And I know this is
you know.
super crazy, but I have one and only one template, and I've used it for over a decade. So
Across the
people
board.
know what they're getting. It's easy. It's got a pop of color for the human eye because, as humans, we like color, right? And so it has the little section breaks and, the shaded bands. And it says, this is what you're going to be reading. And now you're going to read it. This is what you're going to be reading. And now you read it. Versus you've probably heard on a PowerPoint, you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. You tell them, and then you tell them what you just told them. Well, on your career documents, your resume and your LinkedIn profile, you can only do the first two, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, you can't do the recap. So you got to do a really good job, telling them. But I take that resume, that pretty resume for humans, and then I deconstruct it for the bots so it makes it through the applicant tracking system. That takes me 12 to 15 minutes max to deconstruct it. So we have a base resume for humans. We have a master base resume for the bots, which has no fluff, like no bold, no italics, and it's all Arial 12-point font, all left justified. I've taken out the columns of the keywords and whatnot, and I've taken out sections that are probably not going to make it in an ATS. You just want the normal stuff. And then, so if you upload like two words, upload or autofill, those are the key things that tell you, maybe I'm dealing with bots here. And then if
Yeah.
it says attach, different story. So usually at the end of an applicant tracking system, and there's, I don't know, somewhere over 300 ATSs that I know of right now. I haven't looked up the number exactly right now, but at the end of an online application, it might say, do you want to attach a resume? And that's when you can attach your, what I call a pretty human resume versus the deconstructed resume for upload. So that's what I work with clients on. And you've probably all heard of the book, What Color's Your Parachute? It was written for almost 50 years by the famous Dick Bowles. So if you go on my LinkedIn profile and you see a book there, as one of my work experiences, it will be Find Your Fit, a practical guide to landing the job you love. I was one of 16 career coaches from around the country that wrote a chapter in the book. And my chapter started to be about the ATS, but then it went to applying for jobs. And so, believe it or not, I wrote that in 2016 when it was published. And believe it or not, I still use the same techniques today, keeping in mind little tweaks and whatever for AI, but it still works, you know? And so
Absolutely.
people need to have a good solid base resume in order. I believe they should tailor a resume to every single job application.
I do too.
So, yeah. Because
I
you're
think that's
looking for
key.
keywords, right?
Absolutely. And I put, when I was taking some notes and preparing for this, because Lynn and I had met at a tri-state HR event a couple other, I think it was in the fall of last year. And this was one of
December.
my takeaways. Oh yeah. This was one
Mhm.
of my takeaways was the keywords. And I put this in my notes. In resumes, in LinkedIn, in your personal branding, you need to treat those things the way you would almost your social media profile as it pertains to what you want to stand out. Meaning
Yes.
that your soft skills, your hard skills, project experience, certification, things about you, the upskilling, the passion, the fire in your belly you have, you need to make that stand out in these profiles, because that is what employers and that is what managers are looking for. When I was recruiting for junior staff years ago for JP Morgan, we were looking for folks to look at trades. We were looking for them to figure out things that had gone wrong with trades. And we were running out of people that had like-minded experience. So we took it one step further, and I started looking at technical schools where people were very good at taking engines apart or taking machines apart, putting them back together. That level of soft skill, that project experience, that thought process translates to hard skills. And this is your opportunity, the resume, your LinkedIn page, your personal branding, which I think we're going to get to soon in this discussion. That is what managers are looking for. Because if they're spending less than 10 seconds on a resume, it's really got to speak to them. And Lynn, you really talked about that in the presentation I attended.
So I have to tell you that from that presentation, that room was filled with what, 60, 80 HR professionals and whatnot.
Sold
Uh,
out room.
I got 3 speaking gigs out of that. One of them is paid. So,
Unbelievable.
I'm doing a private training, for one of the firms. So that was cool. And then that's actually next week. I'm excited. Um,
Unbelievable.
yeah. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. I have my own systems and there's a lot of resume mills and resume companies that, they have a lot of people working for them. That's great. That's how they want to operate their business. This is me, Lynn, my personal brand, and
Absolutely.
and
Personal
I
touch.
like working one-on-one with people. I'm not looking to make $1 million. I'm looking to help people, and I'm the mother of an AUDHD, autistic and ADHD adult child, so I'm kind of used to working with some neurodivergent clients who need that one-on-one help, and we break things into chunks and all that. So I just love working one-on-one with people and helping them get them from A to B. So let's talk about uh is there anything that stands out in particular for an effective resume that you haven't already said? And should we move on to LinkedIn, or do you want to add on any
Well,
thoughts about resumes?
you said something that I tell people all the time, and that is, do not be afraid, or I don't want to use timid, to have multiple resumes from multiple roles that speak to that. Because there are people in certain companies that are wearing multiple hats, but that role may be 2 or 3 separate positions at another firm. You really want
Mm,
to separate and bifurcate that. And I think that's the number one reason why people don't get called for an interview, is that the resume is a lot of wishy-washy. There's a lot of stuff on there because people have this notion a resume should only be 1 page. Well, for some folks that works, and for other folks it doesn't. A resume should only be a snapshot. I'm going to come in the room and talk about all this experience. Well, you're not going to have 3 hours in front of a hiring leader, and they're not going to spend more than a few seconds. When we as recruiters share that resume with the hiring manager, remember, we're not the expert in that industry. Even though I've recruited in banking for 20 years, I'm not an investment banker. And I've got
mhm,
chemical and mechanical and civil engineering experience through this firm and a prior firm, but I'm not an engineer. I mean, recruiters are not doing the functions right now of what they're recruiting for. We're expecting the hiring manager, who's a subject matter expert, to be the one to look at this. But if the resume doesn't speak to those things, they're going to say, now this person doesn't have what I need. And that's as quick as it
mhm,
happens. So it is key to have those keywords, those projects, those buzzwords, those certifications, that project experience in the resume. Just want to reiterate that. I think that that's
yeah.
spot on, to have more than one copy that speaks to what you're applying for. Now, I'm not saying look at the job description and pull things out and plug them in a resume, because we've seen that done too. And that is along the lines of like manufacturing stuff, that you need to be accurate, because this is a straw man. This is just a roadmap for what's going to get you in front of those people, right? And it has to be tailored to a
Mm,
way that makes, it's like looking at a house, right? When you look at it, that's why the pictures when you're buying a home or looking at an apartment online are so
mm.
important, right? You want someone to look at that and say, I
Ooh, she just froze. Uh-oh. She may have an unstable internet. Or is it me? Um, oh my.
gotta
I don't
see
know.
this happen.
Oh, she popped on and popped off. Is it me or is it Vic that's got an internet issue? I don't know if anybody can put in the chat, or Meryl can put a Meryl Cass is Restream is okay. Meryl Cass is a helper. Is some reason or another his comments are not coming up on Restream, but I know he's there. Meryl, can you send me a LinkedIn message one-on-one and tell me, is it me that's breaking up or Vic? Like, whose internet? Okay, Johnny says, "No, Lynn, you're here." Thank you, it's her. Okay, Vic, your internet is,
Okay.
like, freaking it going in and out, just so you know.
Funky?
But you're okay now.
Okay. Let me see if I could do something
Alright.
with this.
So we missed a little bit. Uh, you're moving around. Okay. Um, I did you wanna, like, recap what you just said? Because we did miss some of it.
Yeah, I was speaking specifically about the opportunity for a hiring manager to look at that resume and see those buzzwords that jump off the page. That having more than one resume tailored is so important to what we're doing, right? And having those projects that speak to what it is that you're applying for jump off the page. Really doubling down on what you said, Lynn.
I wanna, like, add a couple little add-ons, and then we're gonna jump to talk about LinkedIn. But, this is such a tough job market right now, and you yourself said there's more applicants than there's jobs available. I make all my clients, I don't care how torturous it is, it's kind of a hate-love relationship. You will hate working with me, but you'll love me in the end because 'cause I'll make you look like a rock star. I demand I have high expectations, and I wanna see metrics in every single bullet point. Tell me how you helped a company make money, save time, improve
Yes.
processes, dollars, numbers, percent. And people say, I don't know. I'm like, I'm going to pull it out of you. No worries. Um, Even students, who are looking for internships, I'm going to pull it out of you. They exist. So you mentioned also about a one-page resume. I'm sorry. If you're 14 years old and have no experience, that's a perfect one-page resume. It's great for you.
Correct.
But
Correct.
I have juniors in college right now who need summer internships. They are not having a one-page resume. We can't tell their story. Maybe it's going to be 1.5 to 2 pages, but
Correct.
maximum, even for senior executives, 3 pages. That's it. I cut you off,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
when we, go to the 12 to
I
15
agree.
years experience, and then we'll do the one-liners for the early career and whatnot. It'll all be on your LinkedIn profile if you want, um, but we
Absolutely.
don't need all the details of, your internship in college when you've got, um, 30 no, 20 plus years of experience. We don't say that 30 or 40 word. I had a nurse 48 years. I'm like, "You have 20 plus years of experience." So we're gonna cut that off. Alright, let's talk about LinkedIn. Um, do you review LinkedIn profiles, and what's your overall take on what you see?
Oh, yeah. This is the number one way I think that most recruiters right now are sourcing for candidates. Recruiters, our strong partners and our recruiting vendors and our agencies, we're using LinkedIn. This is the online savvy experience portfolio we are looking at before we contact you, and everything you put on there, we're relying on. We're skimming it fast. We're looking at content as being credible. So,
Mhm.
what's your activity like? Are you interacting with other groups? Are you posting? Are you attending conferences in your vertical? Are you skilling up? Are you getting certifications? I think the biggest bummer for me is when I find someone amazing on LinkedIn and looks like they haven't been on in a year, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like when you stumble
Mhm.
across your friend's Facebook page and they've got pictures of themselves in high school and now they're 65 years old, right? You're like, what
Mhm.
happened here, right? I know that Bob just retired. So I think that that's a big one. Is your headline is your powerhouse, right? That's what people are looking at. So I'd love to hear, if you work so closely with it. I'm sure what you think.
Yeah, I mean, you have to build your personal brand online. Um,
Missed.
there's 1.3 plus billion people on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn and you haven't optimized your LinkedIn profile, um, uh, how do you get found? Like if you go down to my recommendations and look a few down, like for Dr. Laura Picciano, okay? She was the lead physician at Mainline Health in Roxborough, and she wanted to be a medical director. And so we positioned her as one. She wasn't one. That's what you call, the reinvention or, well, it's more of a pivot. It's another role in the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks after she had finished her profile, and we worked together, she was found because of the keywords and her profile was optimized to the best of our ability, with metrics in the profile. So that's the idea is to be found. So I wind up doing data-driven decision making with my clients. I have a spreadsheet, it's all color coded. I have a quadrangulated approach. Ha ha ha, big word, right? Four-prong approach. Um, and where I pull keywords from. And believe me, you cannot just use ChatGPT to get keywords. There, you have to use multiple methodologies. That's kind of like my doctoral coursework stuff. There's something called triangulated research, meaning to make it valid and reliable, you pull research from 3 sources to make it real. So it's like, oh, this is a transferable concept. I use a 4-prong approach for keywords, and I do have some clients on this call. So thanks for being here today. So there's different strategies. Like LinkedIn is a database, so you have to play nice in the database, especially
Right.
for LinkedIn Recruiter and LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
you have your own vernacular, and then there's the vernacular in the job descriptions, and you gotta kind of mash all that together and make all that work. So, do you have LinkedIn Recruiter or LinkedIn Recruiter Lite?
So I have LinkedIn Recruiter, and that's mostly through the job, but I've always paid a little extra for LinkedIn Premium, right? I think that
Hmm.
if you're able to do that and you're in the job market, that gives you a little bit more insight and reach, or even LinkedIn Lite into contacting other people. Your about section, your pitch section, not your bio, but your about section, which Lynn, you spoke about at the event that I attended, which I went in and took some of those tips and those keyword tricks away from. Structure it. What do you do? Who do you help? What are you known for? And what are your
Hmm.
measurable wins? Exactly what you said. If I've improved the higher acceptance rate here at RVE by 10% in the last 6 months, I want to put that somewhere, right? If I'm
Yeah.
known for helping hiring managers find talent and manage their partnerships with strong candidates and strong vendors, I want to put that in that about section, right?
Hmm. Well, I could put a little twist on that since December. Um, so towards the end of December, we kind of shut down everything at the nonprofit, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have a break. I can do me. So I actually revamped my own master resume, which is scary thing, 9 pages. But because I revamped it, I was able to put, updates on my LinkedIn profile. I'm still updating my LinkedIn profile. I updated my headline a couple days ago or, last week. I still have to do my banner. I have to do my about section, and we're going to talk about that since you just mentioned it. I have to do projects, keywords. Like I got some really dud keywords that are not all in the database, but I use it as teaching moments for when I do LinkedIn trainings. Um, there might be other sections. So I'm still a work in progress, but I got to do client work first. I got to pay the bills, right? So clients come before me. But the about section, we now have to take, the framework that I gave you, which is in articles on the Great Careers website, and now we got to put it into Chat GPT and say, please write this keeping in mind the algorithms in LinkedIn, 360 Brew, Llama, and natural language. So you will probably be seeing my LinkedIn About section evolve when I get a hot minute. I'm not sure when that hot minute's going to be, but it will get there. But you know, I'm working with a student from Ursinus College now, and he was on our workshop with Ganesh Ariyur from the Thought Leadership Branding Club. He came to speak to our nonprofit on AI and the job search. Oh my God, he's fantastic. The resources that he gave us were unbelievable.
Excellent.
So, you know, my student took that prompt and he says, "This is what it came out like. Should I put this in?" I'm like, "Nope. It's partially, we can use part of it, but we got to have the human oversight, right?"
Right.
So, but yes, you should put, you know, the 360 Brew, Llama, and natural language prompt together when reviewing your about section. But there's always human tweaks that you can
Right.
do to make it look better. Anything else you want to add on LinkedIn before we switch to interview prep?
I mean, your experience section is going to be better than your resume, essentially, right? This is not a place to cut and paste the resume. This is a place to add context, business impact, the metrics you talked about, outcomes being greater than responsibilities, right? Those skills and keywords, that visibility, that's what's going to pop on the profile. That's what's going to make someone looking for you, like what happened with your client, want to connect with you.
So I actually instruct clients to use their resume content from the base resume and pop it in LinkedIn because it has all the metrics. It's well written.
Oh yeah,
Why
yeah. I
why
mean,
reinvent the wheel, you know?
you don't want to see 3 pages. Talked about that, right? The metrics, and
Oh yeah. Yes.
you want the content
Mhm.
to say what I put in my notes. I don't want to see 3 loosey goosey bullets message, and I'm going to go to my hiring leader and say, look, you got to see what she's done on LinkedIn. I can't wait to see her resume. I
Yep.
want that to tell the story. So that's
Yep.
key. That's key. Yeah.
Yep. So I want to say hi to Scott Boudreau. I see he just put a comment in the chat. Um, if anybody needs their taxes done, Scott's the man. You know, he may be in New Jersey, but he does my taxes in Pennsylvania and has for a couple years. So he's doing, you know, supply chain and logistics and whatnot. But in the meantime, he also is doing taxes. So thank you, Scott, for. I think we'll be filing an extension this year. Just saying, yeah. I gotta find the time to do all that data entry, but I'm getting there. All right, let's talk about interview prep. How can job seekers best prepare for interviews as a candidate that you're going to submit to the hiring managers in your firm? It's a little different, you know, if you are a recruiter submitting to an outside firm, but now we're talking about you as a hiring manager or as a HR person, and you have hiring managers in your firm. And do you assist in any way with interview prep, or they kind of are they kind of on their own because you're working for the company?
Well, I think that, listen, when as a corporate recruiter, as someone with an HR, our goal is to fill those positions, right? We are um, um, measured by the placements we make, the sources that we derive candidates from, the time to fill, what our candidate slates look like, all of that good stuff. So we want you as the candidate. I don't know if can you all hear me? The internet's acting
Yep,
up.
yep.
Okay.
We're good.
We're having a little bit of a storm here in South Jersey. We want you, if we're presenting you, we want you to get the interview. We want the hiring manager to call and say, hey, Vic, I absolutely loved candidate Corey. We want to move on with a second interview. So I think certain corporate recruiters will say, hey, the first meeting will focus on biographical. The second meeting will be more technical. The first meeting is just a phone call to let you know what our projects are and see if it's something that gets, your belly stirred and see if you're interested. We will give you I think a little bit of talking points, but the most important thing to remember, and this took place like 30 years ago, is behavioral based interviewing. Tell me a
Yes.
time when. Give me an example when. No one's going to get you in a room. This is the room that I interviewed in, and have you run off to the races and talk for 30 minutes about how you went from job one to job two and you left because of this. They want to know how, why. How did you increase, hiring metrics? How
Mm-hmm.
did you cut budget costs? What's your management style? Are you an open door person? How do you like to work? How do you escalate problems? We as candidate seekers, if you're in a job seeking position, pardon me, you as a candidate can search behavioral based interview questions and really prep yourself, practice on how you would respond, get yourself familiar with, something. Last year I did save the firm $10 million. 2 years ago I
Mm-hmm.
did cut spending costs, and be able to really speak to that. Prepare yourself in that vein, and also familiarize yourself with who you're going to be speaking with. I am not
Mm-hmm.
recommending going on LinkedIn and stalking, or finding the interviewer on Facebook and figuring out where they get their pizza from on Friday night. I am not suggesting that. But what I think would be great is to understand who you're meeting with. You're meeting with the chief technology officer. Breeze their LinkedIn profile. That's what it's there for. You realize they went to your alma mater. You realize you both work for the same company. You belong to the same veterans hall. It's nice to have those nuggets. Sometimes that softens the interview if used appropriately, right? I think there's a
Yeah.
lot we could do to prepare these days.
Yeah. Oh, I see Joey Himmelfarm on the call. He's another member in the Thought Leadership Branding Club. So, by the way, Joey runs a Tune Up Tuesday, or I forget what it's called. Joey, put your link in there in the chat there for people to jump in on your Tuesday meeting. He has a speaker every week. And Joey, if you haven't had Carrie Bryson, please invite her. And Christy Klein. I know you've had her too. So and Felipe, you should have Felipe come and chat with you. So maybe you got a few new speakers there for your next coming up Tuesdays. Um, okay, so you mentioned about behavioral interview questions. So there's different formats for that. There's CAR, you know,
Yes.
challenge, action, result. PAR, problem, action, result.
Star.
SOAR, STAR,
Yes.
grade, like there's all STAR, there's all these different formats. So my tip for you folks is go to greatcareers.org. Type in the little magnifying glass, the search bar, AI, and you will see um, lots of AI articles, but one in particular has something to do with AI and interview questions, and that is like a super comprehensive article. It talks about STAR. It gives examples of soft skills, like 49 soft skills, and it has how you might answer the question. So if, for example, you asked a candidate, tell me about a time when, right? You had a communication issue with a team member, or you had a conflict resolution, or something else. So if here's my opinion, if you have 7 to 10 star stories prepared, memorized, practiced,
Yeah.
then if any of those, let's say 2 or 3 soft skills, you can speak to that through the star story you practice. All right, so now here's a little cheat thing that I'm going to tell you about. I think I do this every time. So here is, let's say, a index card. If you cut a hole out of the index card and you're doing this virtually, you can tape that around your camera, and you can put your little black bullet points with your Sharpie around so you remember your star stories. Like, oh, what a great cheat sheet. And you can keep looking at your camera, right? Now, if you go to an in-person interview, you should always be prepared with that portfolio, with the notepad on the right and a little,
Yes.
triangular pocket on the left. And maybe you have a piece of paper on the left that has, you know, little bullet points with your 7 to 10 star stories. So you remember, and you should always ask permission. Hey, would you mind if I take notes during this interview?
Yes.
Shows you're interested, you lean forward, and you can take some notes and buy a little seconds of time while you kind of look at your little bullet points on the left,
Yeah.
and boom, you got this, right? But you have to practice, practice, practice. Nobody gets to first violin seat. Nobody gets to the end, Major League Baseball or NFL
No,
if they don't
no.
practice. So you don't
Yeah.
get to a good, place in an interview without practice, right?
Feeling comfortable in speaking about your work. That's why I tell people be
Hmm.
very mindful of what you put on a resume. If you were involved loosely in a project, but you weren't involved in steps A through Z, and you can't talk fully about it because it started after you, don't put it on. Put things there that you could speak confidently about. It's like you wouldn't put things on your social media and say you ran a 10K if you didn't, and then tag the running group, right? Like, just let's not gas this stuff up. Let's be realistic. People are most comfortable talking about things they're good at, right? They're not comfortable in many cases talking about things that they're not good at, but there are ways to phrase that, right? Like, we used to ask strengths and weaknesses. Now that question's gotten like, you might, an interviewer might turn that around to, if you could work on something and master your skills at X, what would it be? For me, it's Excel. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I can convince Frosty to move to Florida. Excel, I stink at. Okay. So there's got it right. There's good and bad in that portfolio. There's good stuff and there's things you want to work on. It's about being familiar and being comfortable and feeling confident, because that's going to tell the job seeker this
Yes.
person knows what they're talking about, and they're going to bring that knowledge to the company. That's why I think it's so important that if you're applying to a job that's really far out, this might not be the time for that job. And that's why everything is going to dovetail together. The resume has to have your touch on it, even if you use AI. The LinkedIn
Yeah.
has to have your touch and branding on it, even if you use a specialist like Lynne, right? And the right specialist like Lynne is going to put you and those specialties together so you could really feel good about what you're presenting.
Yes. Carrie Bryson put a note in there saying videotape you talking. So if you go to that AI interview article, like on greatcareers.org, there are platforms that I put in there where you can videotape yourself. You can also do it on Zoom, but there are a couple platforms that are available to people, and some of them are free. One of my, I think, is Goodwill, Delaware. They have they have a platform there. So yeah, that's a really juicy, comprehensive article. So great tips. Are there a couple like interview questions you always ask everybody?
Yeah, I always ask that. I have a couple that are my go-to, which is, if you could tell me something amazingly that you've done amazing that you're proud of in the last year when it comes to work, what would that be? And for people, that could be a project, or they've mentored someone, or they work towards a promotion. That gives people a chance to really boast about themselves, but it also lets me, as the interview, understand something that motivates them, right? Is it learning? Is it knowledge? Is it um, getting the position? Is it maintaining a balance of quality of life? Is it that fact that, you got your master's while you were working full time, or you moved 3 times because your spouse is in the military and you were able to still, receive that promotion? I like to know. I believe who you are at work is who you are in life, right? And I think that
Mhm.
that's really true. As we get older, I think it's even more true, right? Because you're at a point in your career where you're mastering your skill set at this point, right? Like you
Mhm.
know what you're good at, you know what you're comfortable at, and you know what you're not great at. So
Absolutely.
I like to ask, what have you done in the last year that you're proud of? Or, um, how do you escalate an issue? What's your escalation process, right? Because every firm, every company has a different escalation process. Do you attack it yourself? Do you stop? Do you pace yourself? Do you go to management? Do you collaborate? That really helps the culture. I think that's another reason why interviews don't turn into offers is you did a great interview and you know your stuff, but you personally don't jive with the culture at that place. And I think that some of these behavioral questions let the interviewer know that. Now, full disclosure, everyone, some interviewers are not good at this. Matter of fact, most are not. Despite all the training that we provide, there are biases, right? There are subconscious biases and conscious biases that creep in. Maybe you worked at a company that let them go 10 years ago. Maybe your alma mater is a school that rejected their daughter. You need all the goods to kind of combat that, because there's nothing you could do about those biases. And Lynn, I'm sure you've heard about this during interview feedback, right? When you've coached people. That maybe something just didn't jive, right? They couldn't figure it out. They were convinced that they got the job. What was it? It happens, you know, and sometimes it's got nothing to do with that. I will tell you as an insider, corporate HR, sometimes it's just you did great, but somebody interviewed after you that had a little bit more of a segue, or you were missing this one thing and they had it. And it's not a time to beat yourself up or go home and kick the dog and all that stuff. It's really a time to say, okay, that wasn't for me. I'm pulling myself up from my bootstraps and I'm moving on. Like I tell people, I've turned more jobs down or not gotten more jobs than people have worked in their whole life, right? And I'm only 47. But it's about owning and feeling good about that paper, about that portfolio, about what you're putting out there and what you're talking about.
Speaking of portfolio, at 5 p.m. Eastern time today, I'm doing another live stream with Chewy from the Job Helper, and I'm his guest on his live stream. So if you can't make it live, you can
watch later.
Watch after. We're going to cover a lot of different topics, and I did do a post this morning that I scheduled on how do you make a portfolio for yourself? So I saw somebody in the chat said, I could not take anything and put it on the table during my interview. Ooh, that's a bummer. But let's say it's a first interview, that's one thing. But let's say it's a second interview. If you prepared a portfolio that you printed out, you went to Staples and you got the clear cover and the black or blue back, hard plastic back, and it's spiral bound, that's a leave behind. Okay. And I did that for one interview that I went to many, many, many years ago. I was called back for 8 interviews. Well, I know that's super crazy. And I had to drive like 45 minutes to an hour each time. And that was just insane. So, come to find out, the president of the company was autistic, and it's like, okay, but they were so impressed with me and that leave behind portfolio, they kept having me come back. And they were excited that I had something to leave behind. So if you can't have the notes on the table, then if you prepare something with the colors of the company and their logo on it as the cover page, boom, then you've got that leave behind and they'll look at it after. Just a thought. All right, we're going to move on. Let's talk about skills and qualifications. What are the most sought after skills and qualifications in candidates right now?
I think a lot of what we mentioned, are you using AI tools? Are you using diverse methods of work? Are you creative? Are you upskilling? Have you mastered one cert, but you're looking to get the next? How are your presentation skills? How are stakeholder management skills? Communication, adaptability, right? This is what we're working with now. You've been working from home for the last 4 years. Now we're bringing you back into the office hybrid. How are your collaboration skills? How are your attention to detail? How are your deadline management skills? I think that there's a real focus on soft skills in this environment, right? Well, we're right? Because Lynn, you're seeing things change, aren't you?
Yeah.
from where they were a couple years ago. I think there's a lot happening around that.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, everybody on this call, we all have transferable skills, but we also have our own sets of hard skills. So you have to be able to utilize, the hard skills um, in your area or industry, but you also have to learn how to work with people. So
Yes.
it's all those soft skills, listening, communicating, collaborating, all that
It's the
teamwork stuff
combo,
because
right? It's combining the
Mhm,
technical skills and the human skills, right? It's not
yeah.
just new skills. I worry about the younger generation that stands behind email and stands behind
Mm,
messaging and stands behind Teams, because it for some of them it's so hard for them to get in front of someone and feel comfortable, is shaking like a leaf, because they're just not used to that merge between humanity and the technical skills, right? So important.
yeah, yeah. So, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, "Holy smokes, this went by fast." So, what I wanna do is, again, give a quick commercial break here. Um, this event is co-promoted by greatcareers.org, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. We run 18 to 25 events a month. It is also co-promoted by the Thought Leadership Branding.club. And if you go to the events page, you will see um, topics and events that are appealing to job seekers, entrepreneurs, employed people, like a little bit of everything. Like in the club, we have job seekers, entrepreneurs, and employed professionals. So little bit of everything, and it's just really a fantastic community. So check that out. I do have to update. Melanie Goodman was supposed to come today at 4 o'clock to do LinkedIn and Substack, and we're moving that to Monday at 3 o'clock. So I will be updating the website when I find a hot minute because I'm in charge of that events page. But yeah, that just got changed and rescheduled because she's traveling today. So there will still be a meeting, but Bobby Umar is going to do that. So we're going to invite people to come up on the stage in a hot minute. So if Merrill Cass would be kind enough, he's just amazing support here. He can put the link, the restream link in the chat while Vic tells us about the types of jobs she's looking for. And so we won't let you on stage quite yet, but let's get the link going so that you can join us on stage, and I'll let you in the appropriate time. So, Vic, what kind of jobs are you currently trying to fill? Where are they located? Is anything remote, or is it all, uh, in person or hybrid?
Yeah, so the roles that I have open today are mostly hybrid positions. They're usually 2 to 3 days in the office, 2 to 3 days at home, depending upon the group. I have a lot of very specific civil engineering jobs open right now, but that doesn't mean that we don't hire technologists. It doesn't mean that we don't hire admin staff. We have some roles for more design in the CAD space that sometimes have to do with design engineering. We also are my firm was acquired by a larger firm recently, which is going to open up a whole bunch of doors on more positions all over the country, not just in the Northeast. So that's more to come on that. But I would say follow the company. Follow the companies you're interested in. Follow them on LinkedIn. Look at the projects they're promoting. Look at the new work that they've won. Look at where they're doing business. Think about yourself in that environment, or someone in your network, right? Someone that you met at an event that's looking for an engineering job, or their son or daughter is majoring in it. The same thing goes for your friends and family. Think about yourself and the connectivity that you have. We're such great connectors. If you're here, you're a connector, right? It's part of who you are.
Hmm. All right, great. And I asked Vic if after this session is over, she could go through the comments and
Yes.
reply to some of them, and also she can put the links into what is it, rve.com?
Remington and Vernick engineers, but I'll reply to everyone with that.
Yeah.
That's a good start for everyone
Great.
to see.
And the career page and whatnot.
Yes.
And,
career
even
page
if you have
about
a
us.
list
Yes.
of jobs, that would be
All the
great.
roles are listed there.
All right. So, let's see. Okay. What tips do you have for job seekers to reach out for you for an introduction? Like, should they reach out to you? Are you open to them reaching out on
I
LinkedIn?
answer every LinkedIn. I take every call. I talk to everyone. This is my passion. Please feel free to send me an email or a request, and I'm happy to. It's my passion. So please don't be shy.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you process somebody in your company and they go through the interviewing process, what do you recommend is the timing and follow up? How often should they follow up?
I would say I think the right cadence of that is about 7 to 10 days after an interview if you don't hear from the HR person first. I'm thinking about timing. I think a lot about the calendar, right? Vacation, spring break, people having off. Stick with 7 to 10 days when in doubt.
All right. So I know we're at time. Are you okay to go just a tiny little bit
Yes.
over? Because I am.
Yes, of
All right.
course.
We're not
Yes.
going to go too much over because
Yes.
I do have a client
You
that
got to
I'm
be
going to meet
busy.
with.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like back to back today, but it's all good. Okay. So let's see. Is there nobody's in the back of the stage quite yet. I did put it in the comments, and I think Meryl put it in, hopefully, the comments. So I'm gonna keep asking a couple questions while we wait and see if anybody wants to
Okay,
jump
sure.
on here. Okay. So is there something I have not asked that you would like to share?
I took some notes around something that recruiters are trying to do, which you all should be aware of, is create diverse interview slates and interview panels. So women meeting women, BIPOC folks meeting BIPOC, really giving people a chance to see themselves at the firm and be able to understand how that firm approaches diversity. So if you're talking to a firm that does that, I think that's a fantastic step in the right direction. I think that a diverse workplace is a fantastic workplace. Look at that, think about that. Not just women, people of a certain age, that we're meeting each other and we're being part of the selection process. If you're asked to be part of an interview process, be proud that you've been tapped on the shoulder to be part of selecting talent. It's the most important thing people do. These companies cannot run without you. They cannot be successful without you. You are the greatest asset. Know that going in.
So, our nonprofit, and I know Gregory is going to chime in here. I call it DEIBAJ. So diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and justice, social justice.
Nice. Yes.
So, to me, as the mother of an AUD-HD adult child, she wanted to belong. She wanted to feel like she belonged
Absolutely.
in
You
in
want to
an
feel part of
organization.
something.
Mhm.
Everybody wants that.
And you may need accommodations, right? And that's okay. So the accessibility is, some of you may not know this, but I have a bad back and a bad knee. So I can walk, but I can't walk 10 to 12 miles a day at Disney. So I'm a scooter chick at Disney. I have my accommodations so that I can have fun on vacation. And
Yes.
then obviously social justice. I mean, when you have diversity, you have innovation because you're bringing people together with different minds, and it just creates better end
Yes.
product. All right. So we've
Absolutely.
got somebody going to come up here. Let's see. I got to just pull them up here. Whitney. All right. Welcome, Whitney. Tell us who you are, where you're from. I think you have to unmute yourself. There's a little unmute button. There you go.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Whitney. I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh.
Former Just looking for some advice. Kind of had a dead-end job last time around, having a hard time convincing people that I'm not just out of date.
How's your resume and your LinkedIn profile? Do you feel that you need to do tweaks based on what we talked about, or do you feel confident with the way it looks today?
I've been getting different feedback from different groups of people regarding my resume. So I have actually 2 accounts for all the jobs, are kind of experimenting with one resume versus the other. I feel like,
are you receiving yeah, what do you feel, what are you getting back from the job, from the folks you're applying for? Anything?
So I've had over the last 6 months. One of them is clear they just never read my. I'm not sure why they even bothered to interview me if they didn't see that I was not what they were looking for. And the other one wasn't qualified for the job. Gave it a click anyway, just for the sake of it, and definitely was not qualified for that. But I just feel like since I've made some changes to my resume, a lot of the content on it has been kind of useless. Important things.
Yeah. So Lynn, what do you think? Is it time maybe to take a look at that again?
So Whitney, here's what I'm going to suggest. Go to my LinkedIn profile, and I have in 3 places a link to book a call with me. One is in contact information, but you can only get to that if you are a first level connection. But down at the bottom of the about section, you'll see book a call. So copy and paste that and go on my Calendly. It'll give you a 15-minute time slot. I can extend the time and I'll add a Zoom. The other option is, this is like where you find all about me, like my link of links is my link tree. So right under my headline, it says more gobsmacking resources. Yeah, hopefully that's memorable.
Yeah.
But that has the nonprofit website in there. It has my upcoming speaking events, my publications, which I have to update the most current ones, and a book a call, and where else I volunteer, etc. So happy to review what you got whenever you can find time. It might wind up being, weekend or next week, because I'm jamming tomorrow and today. But happy to review. Any other questions we can answer?
Whitney, I also want to suggest joining LinkedIn groups for technologists, female technologists in Philly, any type of specialty group where jobs may be posted by employers in those groups gives you first dibs on them. And feel free to jam me on LinkedIn and we could talk more about this, get together with Lynn, but I feel like it's definitely a string we could pull on.
Okay.
Yes, there are some tech groups in meetups and LinkedIn groups.
That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, I can give you those resources since you're local here. When we meet, happy to share resources.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Sure thing. I don't know. There's nobody else that wants to come up right now that I can see. So again, recap your website, and is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Love chatting with you all. Hope I can help you. Feel free to send me a message. I'll respond to everyone. I love the opportunity to chat about this stuff. Just really, I really have a fire in my belly for it. So I'm really grateful that we met and I could share some tips and tricks.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So I think LinkedIn keeps these sessions live for maybe 6 months or so. So you will find that under the events tab on my LinkedIn profile, but it is also on youtube.com/@greatcareersphl, which is just like the Philadelphia airport. And if you click on lives, you'll see, this session, and if anybody else needs to watch it. And, it's always great to hear recruiters' tips and how you work together. Because sometimes I have independent recruiters recruiting for their clients. And in this case, Vic works for a company, so she is internal, talent acquisition. So it's great to hear these different perspectives.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thanks for, all my we've got some regular groupies, that are here. So thanks for coming back again. And next month, I'm going to tell you, we're going to have Sam Velu, Velu. He is an IT and tech recruiter out of New Jersey. He has been with us before, but on Zoom, when we were doing this on Zoom. But the beautiful thing about Sam is that he's going to grace us with his presence twice that week. So on April 14th, he's going to be sharing AI tips from a recruiter's perspective on Zoom. So that will be private to the members of our community. And then he'll be doing the public, recruiter on call, just like we're doing here today on the 16th at 12:30 p.m. day after taxes. And that's, the LinkedIn Live. So just to give you a little perspective on greatcareers.org, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're volunteer run, but we cannot operate without income. But can you imagine that? Like, you can't run a business without income. So if you buy a month and you want to try it out, it's a whopping $17. But if you buy it annually, it's only $8.08 a month. If you think about it, we offer 18 to 25 events a month. That's like, I don't know, 25 cents, 40 cents an event. If you attended one event, you would get much more value than your 15 minutes of a venti starbs frappuccino. So here's, for example, I had a private, LinkedIn profile review. 1 month, there was one person that showed up. It's usually a small group. So where do you get a career coach for an hour to give you personal feedback for $8.08? Like, woo! And even somebody just did $17. We had 3 people on the call, and like, even if she got 20 minutes, $17. Hello, yeah, amazing. So we really have a big impact. So come and join us, and check it out. So you can join us either via Substack, but there's a delay from me getting you from Substack into the database of our website, or you can just go to greatcareers.org and go to the membership page. So thanks so much for joining, and happy to have you all here, and we'll see you either maybe 5 o'clock this afternoon for the other LinkedIn Live, or if you come to the Thought Leadership Branding Club, that's 4 o'clock. Yeah, I'm going bam, bam, bam. Or we'll see you next month for Recruiter on Call with Jobs on April 16th. So thanks, Vic, for joining me.
My pleasure.
And I will get to responding to all your comments and adding links with resources and whatnot when I get a hot minute. That might not be till, might not even be till tomorrow. I will try later, but I do have a 7:15 a.m. presentation tomorrow. And then on Saturday, oh my gosh, I need to mention Saturday. Saturday is the Shift Plus Tech AI Career Summit. It is a global summit, and it is free, 5 hours worth of tips from a whole bunch of people. That's on the Great Careers page also. So you want to make sure you sign up on the other link. Okay, Gregory has joined. Gregory, we got to keep this really short and sweet because I do have to, wait a minute, let me check. Yeah, I do have to go, so I'll let you ask one question here. There you go. How you doing?
Hey, happy Neurodiversity Celebration Week.
Oh, yeah.
And St. Patrick's Day for those of us who are still celebrating. I'm not Irish, but I still celebrate.
Because I have a question for your guest here. And I
Okay.
always ask this because to see what where their heads at. How can some people who are neurodiverse, who are basically on a neurodiverse scale, to how to stand out in this vicious job market that does not get them as them in terms of resume, because our resume is very, very unique, non-traditional type of a resume structure. And the interviewing, such as basically STAR, should not be done on people who are neurodiverse, but we basically
Mm.
push our will onto the in regards to that nature, as what and as well as that nature. And basically the whole, I will say, interviewing structure is basically one big barrier minefield after barrier minefield overall in a juncture. Seriously.
That's a lot of questions there. So Vic, try to
Sorry.
do the best you can
Sorry.
answering,
Yeah.
because I don't have a lot of time. I do have to
Yep.
run.
I
So
think real
give a
quick,
quick one.
using reframing neurodiverse as a competitive edge, right? Recognizing patterns, recognizing work with deep focus, having direct communication. That's funny. This just came up in my company a couple weeks ago. We were talking about a specific candidate that fell into this category and what would be the best way to have them build a skill forward resume and show their work. The other thing when it comes to interview is stand out, but don't overshare. Lead with branding, detail driven in talking about yourself, give time for the interviewer to speak. What else was I saying? Focus on how you work, tell a story without needing that label. So stand out without oversharing. I hope that's helpful.
Does that help, Greg?
Yeah, but people, our stories are basically sheltered and basically not being told, in my view. And
Yeah, and I think
that's a problem.
I think it's getting more. I think those stories and characteristics are getting more popular. I think it might also be about looking for jobs and organizations that can help buoy you and stand you up and get those candidates into roles that really show their skills and that's the most important thing, not with just with neurodiverse folks. It's with everyone. Are you the right fit for this job? That's the number one reason why things don't work out. It is because it's round circle, square peg. That's life, right?
Yeah, I think the goal is to get a company to fall in love with you and make
Yes,
you the
for
offer.
you.
And once you have the offer, then maybe do a little bit more disclosure. But there's different philosophies on that, but that is one philosophy that I've heard from somebody else. But honestly, Gregory, I do have to go. So thanks for jumping on stage.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everyone.
seeing
Wonderful.
you each time. So have a great day, everyone, and maybe we'll see you later or next week. I do know some people put comments in and they're coming up as LinkedIn user. So you need to check the settings on the back end and settings and privacy under that little mini me on the menu bar so that we can see your name in the future. So yeah, that's my tip for the day. And Scott says it's National Poultry Day. So happy National Poultry Day to you too. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.